Hey guys, this week's video is dedicated in memory of Masha Bas Bat Sheva. Spring is coming day by day, even here in Rochester, and it feels so good to be outdoors and be able to do this again outside. So hang in there. We deserve a little spring. This week we have a double header, Tazria Metzora. It's two parshas, and it discusses at length somebody who contracts, who's somebody who has this disease called Metzora, which is misidentified and mislabeled as leprosy. But really, this wasn't a physical disease. This was a spiritual disease, a spiritual ailment that manifested itself in a physical way. It happened gradually, and it came from somebody who would gossip negatively about somebody else. And if they didn't stop, they would see these white spots or green spots on their possessions, on their home, on their clothing. And if they still didn't get the message and they continued gossiping, it would appear on their skin itself. And then a Kohen, a priest, would have to identify it as Metzora, proclaim the person as impure, and as a consequence, they had to leave the camp. They had to be isolated for 7 days from the rest of the community until they were healed, and then they could rejoin the community. What's interesting about this is, in secular law, when it comes to defamation lawsuits, etc., the truth is your best defense. If you say something truthful about somebody else, it's very hard for them to sue you for defamation. But that's not the case with Lashon Hara. In fact, it's presumed that when you gossip about somebody else, you're telling the truth. Because if you're lying about somebody else, that's called slander. It's a totally separate sin. Gossiping is presumed to be that you're telling the truth about somebody else. So the question is, why are you punished so harshly that you have to isolate from the rest of the community for saying something true about somebody else? In truth, most conflict in the world, in our life, stems from an unhealthy part of our ego. It's the part of the ego that feels the need to be right and will go to any length to defend that. It's very rigid. It's very stubborn. It's that part of the ego that makes us feel disconnected from one another. I'm totally separate from that person. Somebody who gossips, it's only possible to gossip negatively about somebody else when you feel disconnected from that person. When you feel like two separate people, you don't feel the pain that you're causing with your gossip because you feel totally disconnected from that person. You don't realize the pain you're causing them, or you don't care, and you don't even realize the pain that you're causing yourself. The consequence of isolating wasn't a punishment per se. It was to drive home to that person what they were causing with their words. Yes, it's true what they were saying. Maybe it was true. That's not the point. The pain, you are isolating that person with your negative gossiping. You cause them to feel isolated, the person you're talking about. But more importantly, you're not realizing that internally you are disconnected as well. You are already isolated. The fact that you're able to gossip about somebody else is because internally you're already isolated. You're just not aware of it. You feel disconnected from that other person. By isolating from the community, it drives home the point. This is what's happening inside of you, and this is what you're causing. You must have empathy. And only once you have that empathy for what your words are doing, then you're able to rejoin the community. The Torah is teaching us a really powerful lesson in the world in large. We have so much division, so much conflict, and it stems from this disunity. If we let this unhealthy part of our ego take control, this is the part of the ego that shatters relationships. It disconnects us, it divides us. It's what creates all this divisiveness in the world. It's unhealthy. And if it goes unchecked, we can see what happens very easily. A holy society is one where we realize that we're all one. We're all united, even when we disagree. We have empathy for each other. I might disagree with you, but I have empathy for what you are saying, for what you believe, for what you are going through. Only then can we have a healthy, functioning society. Shabbat Shalom.